So, thanks for
Hello. Of
the time to talk to us today. How are you doing?
course, yeah, I'm doing really well. I had a lot of time from, when I got voted out to when we got to see it to, mentally prepare myself. And at the end of the day, the whole experience was amazing. So I'm really happy with the fact that I even got to, be out there in the first place.
Right. Now, I'm going to reveal a little bit about my age here. So, I remember playing Pokemon on the Game Boy Advanced. First
Uh-huh.
time I ever played because I'm a big gamer. My son got into Pokemon, so I'm familiar with the show and have continued playing the games. My favorites are Gengar and Deoxys. What
Okay,
are
great
your
choices.
what are your favorite Pokemon, Brandon?
Yeah, I think, my go-to is always Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur doesn't get enough love. And then Gen 3, I really like Jirachi. I think Jirachi's the best
Yeah.
mythical out there.
Well, there's so many for to choose from now. I mean, I remember when they first started out, there was 100 and something, and now there's like, a zillion. But
Right.
how is it like watching everything back as far as the show goes? I mean, obviously, you know how things went down and you're anticipating things, but how do you feel today having watched it back now?
Right. Oh, it's so much fun. It's like a whole part of the experience that, you don't even really think about until it starts coming up.
Right.
And, I think the best part for me has been not only seeing things that I didn't know happen, like conversations between people,
Right.
but also seeing things that I flat out just don't remember. Like it's been so long. There were conversations out there that don't even ring in my brain. Like I do not remember Emily confronting me about, Drew saying, everything that I had told him. So it was really interesting to watch that back.
Now, basically, I mean, it came really, all things came really down to Emily and which side she believed, which side she was loyal to.
Right.
Why do you think you couldn't sway her? And how is it like to be under that investigation? Because she can be pretty fierce when she's got a bone to chew.
Right. Emily's awesome.
Yeah,
I felt like I was in a really good spot with her because, we've heard about in the On Fire podcast where Jeff talks about how Kendra went to Lulu for the first the first tribal.
right,
And so one of the things that she came back with was, hey, I like Emily. I had a lot of conversations with Emily,
right.
and then lo and behold, we end up on a swap with her. So I'm like, great, I'm in a good spot. Um, but I think the thing that primarily held Emily back was not only that she caught me lying to her, which was a dumb mistake, but also that I had a relationship with Bruce on Original Bello, and
Right.
given the comments from the barge, I think she was afraid of working with Bello and then having to try to get herself placed above Bruce in our pecking order.
Now, obviously, the edit is what it is. But last night we're watching it, and Kendra seemed a little bit unique and off kilter. Not somebody maybe I would want to work with. Why do you think they chose to keep her around and not you, who was more centered and seemed to be more centered based on the edit and all that stuff?
Right. I think part of it, Kendra is a really fun personality. And like Drew
Right.
said, it is really fun having her around camp. She's always like making some noise, running around, doing something. Um, but at the same time, I think, as, the young Asian nerdy guy, I'm perceived as being super strategic, right? And I mean, we did see in the episode that I was strategizing pretty hard. And for someone like, Drew and Austin, who are both, we've seen so far, they're really great players.
Yeah.
I think that's something they're threatened by. I think Emily was also potentially threatened by that. And Kendra is more, what you see is what you get.
Right. Now, you know what? When people go on Survivor, a lot of times they surprise themselves. Their limits are tested, and those kinds of things. We saw how you performed at Sweat and Savvy. Did that really surprise you at how far you were able to go? I mean, you did an amazing job.
Oh my God. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that was shocking. I'm not going to lie. I did feel like I was going to die for the last like half of the logs. Um, but I'm super grateful that Jake was there with me. He was powering through those things. I think there
Yeah.
were 40 logs, maybe. He probably took at least 25 of them. Like he took over half for sure. But I was surprised by, the fact that I was able to power through
Yeah.
that. I was surprised by the fact that I couldn't do savvy afterwards. There's never been a savvy where I've looked at it and been like, oh, I don't know how to do that. I've always known how to do them. And so for this
Right.
one, I felt like I got a little bit unlucky. Um, but it ended up okay in the long run.
Now, something that people didn't see, but you've talked about previously, is something interesting happened with you at the merger when you got you buff. Can you explain a little bit of that to us?
Yeah, so at the swap, we grab our buffs off the tray from Jeff, and I'm
Yeah.
opening mine, and I'm like, this feels a little weird. I know what a buff is supposed to feel like,
Yeah.
and when I open it, there's a piece of like survivor parchment with writing on it that is sewn into the buff. And so
Whoa.
I rip it out really fast. I don't want anyone to see it. I shove it in my pocket, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to read this when I get back to camp when I have an opportunity. Now is
Yeah.
not the time. So I get back to camp pretty quickly. I get pulled to go for a walk, go for a confessional,
Right.
and I mentioned like, oh, hey, is this for the advantage that I got? They're like, what advantage? So I hand it over without looking at it, which was a mistake because, they end up keeping the advantage, whatever it said. They don't tell me. And so my gut instinct is that it was something that was time sensitive. I had to look at it on the mat. Maybe I could have swapped my tribe with somebody else's. Maybe I could have swapped two people on a different tribe.
Right.
Whatever it was, I think I missed my window, and that's why I didn't get to keep it.
Yeah.
But there's a pretty good chance that I could have saved myself from this 2-1-2 situation had I just read it on the mat. So, it is what it is.
Now, what do you think about the tribal switch overall? I mean, here was Lulu, getting battered, being reduced in numbers, just, unable to win challenges. And in the past, old school Survivor, we saw what happened to Yulong. I mean, they got decimated and there was no
Right.
lifeline. There was no, it's like, no, you guys just go your way. And because again, a lot of the talk sometimes is that the swap actually punishes or puts the other players at a disadvantage who are doing well. What do you think about all of that and those arguments?
Right. I mean, you know what? We did see I went from a great position on original
Yeah.
Bello to getting voted out at the first tribal council.
Right.
Was there no swap? That probably doesn't happen. Or would we have swapped to two tribes? I think I stand a much better chance. And that mixes it up a little bit more. But I understand the idea that three tribes, small numbers, you get a lot of drama. It's really intense.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was a really good episode and a really good tribal council. So, I wouldn't trade it for that part. But yeah, I do feel like I got a little bit unlucky with the swap.
Now, we saw you extend an olive branch to Drew a couple of times, and he rebuffed you both times, which is really odd because usually when somebody offers somebody an alliance, they at least play along.
Right.
Why do you think he wouldn't join forces with you? What was standing in the way?
I think honestly, him telling me that he didn't want to be in an alliance was a slip up on his part. I don't think he actually intended on saying that straight to my face. But when
Right.
you're hungry, when you've been out there, you're on lack of sleep, stuff slips out. And yeah, I was shocked. I'm not gonna lie. I was shocked that he turned it down. But at the same time, I don't blame him. The
Right.
whole point of me doing that was that I wanted him to vote for Kendra, not for me, and then I was still gonna vote him out anyways. So I don't blame him. I don't fault him for it.
Now, one last question before we go. I'm going to ask this of all the survivors. Obviously, we only get to see a very small portion of what goes on the island, due to time constraints, but they're filming all the time. Is there anything
Right.
about your journey, whether it was a bond you made, a moment, some strategic moment, was there anything about your journey that you wish fans and viewers would have saw more of or saw at all?
We saw a little bit on was it episode 3 where Jake, Bruce, and I are on the raft. We're going
Right.
fishing, and I drop a little bit of a pun. It was like, "Where do fish go to the bank?" At the loan shark, or something like that. And I'm not gonna lie, all day, every day, I was rattling those off like it was nobody's business. Maybe Emily just got tired of my puns. Who knows? But I was surprised that those didn't make the final cut.
Right. Well, Brando, it was great watching you on the series. Very interesting character, very fun journey. And, we'll get to see you on the finale, but all the best to you in the future. And who knows, maybe your survivor journey isn't over just yet. You never know.
Hey, never know. Yeah, thank you. It's great talking to you.
Take care, Brando. Have a great day.
You too.